limitations imposed on me, I limited my agenda. We're going to talk about scaling, building large-scale platforms. And this is a very interesting topic. I believe you have millions of opinions, questions, ideas, and I have a few as well. In my normal day-to-day work, I build large-scale installations with Asterisk and a few other tools I'll introduce to you. So we have a lot to say, but most important, I have this legal disclaimer that I need you to sign before I say anything. Okay. First, there's many ways to scale as we have engineers in this room. So there's no single truth. I can only give you one way forward and ideas and ways of thinking. And this presentation includes a lot of opinions that are my personal opinions, and thus also the opinions of my one-person company. So, before we start, let's focus on the big question. What do you want to build? Like I said this morning, it's either an old-fashioned telephone system, boring, or something new. When you invest in this, you actually build an infrastructure for your enterprise or organization that is a long-term investment. It's a real-time communication platform. And if you limit that to one single old-fashioned application named telephony, you're throwing your investment away. You have to take this investment and open up for all the new cool stuff. Most importantly, you have to make sure that you realize that you have no clue. You do not know which applications that will run on this. You have to design in a disruptive way and be open. Hello, Ruben. So, this is the most important message, that neither you or I have a clue on where this is going. Remember when people built the first broadband networks? And they said, well, you know, we can deliver 10 megabits to every apartment here, and we have 5 megabits coming into the building. And we're going to solve that with a web cache. Cool, right? Building an infrastructure for one application. Big failure. Okay, costed them tons of money. So let's look at the factors that are pushing us forward towards this. Of course, factor number one is the internet. I mean, we don't have to discuss this. The networks are getting better. We're getting more and more bandwidth, better and better quality. In Sweden, where I live, bandwidth is cheap. I mean, I work on a weekly basis with friends in Norway having hourly video sessions, megabits running. No problem. And that's going to happen everywhere. Open standards. It's even more important than open source. And it doesn't happen by itself. You, as customers, got to require open standards. Interoperability. Otherwise, you're throwing money out in the lake and you have to really write it off in 1 year. Every year, 2 times a year, we people that create SIP applications for you, phones, servers, we meet at SIPITs and test interoperability, making sure that the new standards actually work and that our implementations talk with each other. And this is just to secure your investment, right? And it's not only SIP. We have Jabber, we have Unicode, we have freely available codecs. There's a lot of stuff coming here that's pushing us forward, making things happen. And of course, open source. I don't need to tell you guys. Let's skip that. But things are happening. I do believe that voice interfaces will be even more important in the future. Speech is a very natural interface, much more than clicking on web pages and stuff. For doing quick things, speech recognition, speech synthesis will be there. Price per channel has gone way down for this, and it's going to be a big part of the e-commerce, e-society application layer. And of course, commodity hardware. People think I'm joking when I tell them the price of a server that can handle 10,000 simultaneous calls, thousands of users. They're like, oh, I pay 30 million kronas for this stuff, and you're telling me that a 40,000 HP server, that's not going to work. So in some cases, there was someone telling me yesterday that you have to create balloons and fill 2 racks with just balloons that looks like server because it feels better for the person paying, right? But investment per call, per concurrent channel has gone way down, and that's a driving force. And of course, we talked this morning about the APIs. It's critical to have APIs into our platforms so the application guys, the guys that are building the next generation applications for your users, for my users, will be able to reach the services in a standard way. So this is really, really important, and makes me really, really happy to be part of the Asterisk SCF launch here, because it's where we started all this. It was a project at last Astrid DevCon called Pine Mango, for those of you who remember it, that turned into all this. When I build large-scale platforms, I find that people have so many different identities. Oh, I'm Ulle here, I'm OAG here, I'm Edwina O here, and my psychiatrist loved me. I have so many identities. This is a problem when you build large-scale networks. Customers already have identities in the email system or somewhere else. We need to reuse them because it actually helps security. It lowers the cost of maintenance. We need to build on that. In many of my platforms, we build based on the LDAP structure they already have. So when adding a phone, adding a user, adding a phone number, they just go into the normal directory and add stuff. And there's so much cool stuff happening in this space. You have the shibboleths, SAML 2.0, federated identities, building trust between organizations. You have OpenID, OAuth, all kinds of stuff. Make sure you follow this, understand what all of this means, because it's going to be an important part of your platforms. So in order to move forward, we need to leave the old PBX model. I'm so tired of it. Yeah, it was way cool in 2004. It was really, really sexy in 1965. Please, this is not the future. We're moving ahead. And a real-time platform, which we're going to discuss now, is much more than telephony. Telephony is very often the first application, so we need to make sure it runs properly. But you need to have namespace, identity management, security that opens up and can expand into other things. Because if you invest in this today and build a PBX, you're going to run it for 2 or 3 years, then you have to restart. I mean, new people coming into the organization, young people, they require chat, messaging, presence, all kinds of stuff. Telephony is just one way of reaching them. You need to build a network, an infrastructure, a service set that fits them as well. And connect to the internet. Without the internet, you're still running an old-time PBX. You need to interface with the systems out there. That's really important. Without it, you're on an isolated island. You need to get away. Okay. Down with religion. Abba preaching. So where are we today? Well, we talked about Asterisk this morning, so I won't go through this in detail. We have one possible solution, the Asterisk SCF, but it'll take a few years, depending on how much time you can sign up for here at AstriCon to dedicate to development of it. We might be ready for Christmas if you decide to give away all your time to the project, but it will take a while. So let's look at how to do this with Asterisk and scale. And the way I do it is that I'm adding a zip proxy, because I'm so zip focused, zip, 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 zip everywhere. And a zip proxy is as boring as a normal IP router. It's as sexy as an IP router. How many here have talked or dated an IP router? Don't do it. Zip proxy is the same. It's a scalability platform. It routes zip messages. Never answers. You can never call a zip proxy and hear the beautiful voice of Alison, because the zip proxy never answers the call. The zip proxy just makes sure that you can scale, that this message finds the next hop. My preferred choice is the software called Kamailio, but there are plenty of pieces out there that work more or less the same. So you can replace Kamailio for other examples in my presentation. And over beer tonight, we can have the discussion about Kamailio, OpenSeer, OpenZips, this, that, YXA. How many here know YXA? Next AstriCon will be in Stockholm, Sweden. YXA is a zip proxy written in Erlang by the Stockholm University. Way cool. So, when I build large-scale networks, this is kind of the plan I start with. And it doesn't have to be this many servers. I can combine the servers, but a separate functionality. So I have a core proxy that routes messages, doesn't do much, but make sure we can scale. And the core proxy is always 2 boxes for failover. Because zip is not call stateful. The problem with Asterisk is that we have call states. If a proxy goes down, the next transaction, the hang up, the transfer, will go to another proxy, and no one cares. So it's a cool protocol that way. I have a proxy as a registrar location server. So Asterisk doesn't own anything. And I have Asterisk as PSTN gateways, voicemail servers, feature servers, and that's where you are, Alison. Answering calls, saying cool things. So let's look at this. Now, going back and forth. So installing at least one zip proxy will give you scalability, security, because they have proper support of TLS in most cases, reliance, application independence, because they just handle zip. They don't care about what type of session you're working with. If you're doing application sharing with Blink, if you're setting up video sessions, audio sessions, chat, file transfers, whatever you want to do with zip, the proxy it's a zip message with a payload. I don't care. So you get safety for the future. The big problem here in my trainings, when I get a bunch of Asterisk people in the room and I have to teach them the zip proxy, they all look like a former prime minister in Sweden. What happened? Why did it happen to me? Because with Asterisk, we solved a lot of issues with zip for you. You add a phone, username, password, and a couple of properties, and we handle the rest of it. In Kamailio, the configuration is basically going like this. Ooh, I got a zip message coming in.